must admit, along the way, we have seen ample opportunity for improvement, from the CDC all the way to the hospital. It's indefensible that one of Mr. Duncan's nurses was allowed to fly from Ohio to Dallas after she said that she had a low-grade fever.
All right, that might sound good, might look good, but according to our friend columnist Charles Hurd of the Washington Times, Rick Perry whiffs, as in, you know, always got to get the sports word in there, whiffs in President Obama's Ebola footsteps. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Good. Before we get to that brilliant column, and nobody's really saying what you're saying, this whole, you know, you're in Washington, I'm in Times Square, we both have kids and family, the whole thing. It's kind of scary to watch what's been going on all day in Ottawa. Yeah,
it really is, and I mean, it's kind of part and parcel to the whole Rick Perry thing. You know, we're presently led in Washington by the king dawdler, the king of minimizing threats and pretending like there aren't serious issues with President Obama. There's nothing that seems to, I get it that he's no drama Obama and he's Mr. Cool and everything, but my goodness, there are a lot of very, very serious threats going on right now, and there is no sense whatsoever that he is aware of them or that he has any sort of strategy for dealing with them, that he even has any real interest in doing.
He doesn't go to the briefings.
No, he doesn't. and I think that this is something that we're starting to see in polling now, and we're starting to see among voters, and I think we very well may see in a couple of weeks at the polls, where you see a lot of Democrats themselves who have voted for him and have supported him, and even among black voters who overwhelmingly supported him, are starting to sort of wonder, at the very least, they're becoming hugely unenthusiastic about the guy. And I think for a lot of people, it's actually worse than that. They've gotten to the point where they're downright disappointed with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the way he's just digging into those Democratic candidates. Oh, they support me. They voted for everything I proposed. They love me.
Bear hugging them as they're running away as fast as they can. He's like grabbing them and pulling them into his bosom.
I mean, that shows that there are psychological, labels you could put on that kind of thing, and there are many of them. Donald Trump doubled down the other day on this show, calling a president a psycho. Now, I don't know if that's a psycho behavior, but it certainly isn't pleasing behavior to the people who are running on the Democratic side.
And I think to a large degree it's delusional, and it's it's this belief that he's like offended about it, and it's this belief that his own well-being takes precedent over everyone else's well-being. And that's a scary thing, and we see that it's all the same thing we see with his vision of history, whether it's talking about the Israel the Middle East conflict or anything else. He just feels like history began the moment he arrived.
Yeah, absolutely.
And had no concept that there's all this going on around him, or that there was something that happened before he arrived.
Well, he did win the Nobel Peace Prize just for arriving, so I guess you can allow him that. All right, Rick Perry. He missed a great opportunity here.
Yeah, and Republicans are lost for 2016 at the moment. They still don't have that candidate who has got guts and is willing to take the fight to the president and understand some of the most important issues like border control. Rick Perry is one of those guys that a lot of people are expecting to be that candidate. But when the Ebola crisis strikes Dallas, and you are the governor of Texas, and you fail to see that and immediately run to the sound of gunfire and take control of the situation and hire the epidemiologists and virologists and to ensure that the hospital executes the proper procedures to make sure that the heroic nurses don't get Ebola. You prove that a state government can handle a health crisis like this, whereas the federal government has shown us at every turn it is utterly incapable of handling this sort of thing. And then of course, as I mentioned a minute ago, the border control issues. Maybe Governor Perry can't stop flights from Ebola countries from coming into the country, but he can sure make a big stink about it and force the president's hand and make it the political issue that it is. Steve, it is a political issue, and the idea that if a dog has rabies, they're not getting into or
Right,
suspected of maybe having rabies.
Right.
That dog is not getting into this country.
No, you're absolutely.
Come from an Ebola country? Come on in, no problem.
Absolutely right. All right, everybody go to WashingtonTimes.com. Rick Perry Whiffs in President Obama's Ebola footsteps. Thank you, Charles. Great to talk to you. Stay safe.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, bye-bye. All right, folks, before we go, we have a poll. Should the U.S. have a travel ban on West African nations, as we've just been discussing with Charles Hurd? Go to Newsmax.com/polls and cast your vote, and we'll be back with the executive editor of Newsbusters, Tim Graham, after the break. But first, a look back at the latest from the Arkansas gubernatorial race with our Road to the Midterms update.
Asa Hutchinson may be GOP governor number 8. According to the polls, his lead over Democratic challenger Mike Ross is getting more comfortable. Democrats know they're in trouble in a state where they once dominated for more than a century, so they're relying on one of the state's most popular governors to rally the vote, former President Bill Clinton. Ross actually worked as Clinton's driver back when he was running for his second term as governor. But Ross is going to need something more than an old connection to a popular politician to pull out a victory. Voters are going to have to like what he's bringing to the table on key issues like raising the minimum wage and creating jobs. Ross wants to give voters an opportunity to weigh in on a wage increase, while Hutchinson says that's a job for the state legislature. When it comes to jobs, both are adamant creating them will be their number one priority. Hutchinson believes the way to do that is with a tax cut for the middle class and an emphasis on workforce training. Ross wants to revamp the tax code and cut red tape and regulations in order to attract new businesses. If Hutchinson pulls out a win, it will be a win for the history books, because then, for the first time ever, Republicans would control Arkansas's top office and the legislature.